Good afternoon. We on our Gurukul session with Chanda Kochhar, the Managing Director of ICICI Bank, a position she took up in May 1st of this year. I'm very privileged to be on the an independent member of the board of ICICI Bank, and as I acknowledged yesterday, ICICI has been, a great partner for TiE over the last 4 years, and has been a
lot of strengths that ICICI has built up, and it's very important to nurture those strengths. And at the same time, the environment that time was so dynamic that there were clearly certain changes and dynamic changes required and sharp changes required in the strategies to be so that the strategy kind of calibrates with the environment. So the issue was to very nicely on a continuum manage continuity with change, and that was my focus, and I think that's what I have done in the last 1 year.
Hi, ma'am. My name is Madhukar Dubey. I'm from Udaipur, Rajasthan, TiE Jaipur member. Basically, Udaipur is a tier 3 city. The problem is how to approach a bank like ICICI or any other bank where you people consider IT as a risk segment, and the funding is not possible without a collateral security. It's a big problem for a company like me, which is growing but need capital. We do not have access to angel or VCs or whatever we talk about. We have access to a bank, but IT is considered as a difficult segment or a dangerous segment to loan without collateral.
Yeah, I think in general for the banking industry, and if you see the IT industry in general, they've grown more at the back of equity capital or venture financing. That's because there is no collateral. So it's not really to say that it's viewed as a risk industry, but it's viewed as an industry that needs more reliance on equity and less on debt. And that's true for all companies in this industry, and it's true for all banks who are looking at this industry.
We have a question from Gaurav Manihar, Motiwal Oswal. Can you please stand up? Gaurav Manihar? Yeah, the question is, what are the qualities that have made you grow from an employee to an employee entrepreneur? And what are the qualities you look for in high-performance employees?
Well, actually, you look at, in fact, an entrepreneurial spirit, even in employees, because I believe that, we may not be, each one of us may not be an entrepreneurs, the ones who are working in an organization, but we need to have that entrepreneurial spirit. So the kind of qualities that you look for is the ability of the employee to really take a task as one full task which they want to take as a full, with a full responsibility, and deliver it to the best of their ability. And in that, they have to really act like an entrepreneur, because the organization can give them a certain direction, can give them, first to start with, a vision, a direction, and some infrastructure, because the organization, of course, has the benefit of infrastructure. But beyond that, the employee has to take the initiative, create the rest of the team or any other infrastructure that's required, and more importantly, assume the responsibility as his or her own responsibility, and then, of course, take the accountability with it. So as we grew businesses, I even spoke about the retail business. As I said, there was not much experience to learn from. Neither did I have an experience, nor did the industry across have much experience. So there was nothing to say that, in the past this has been done, so this will be correct, so therefore let's go ahead and do it. I think a lot of decisions had to be taken on the basis of guts. A lot of decisions had to be taken on the basis of maybe only 80% data, never 100% data. But you look at workable data, you don't wait till you get 100% of the data and become, land up in doing analysis paralysis. Get to workable data, take some decisions on the basis of your gut feeling, share that direction with your people, give them some amount of leeway to implement it, but keep a very tight check in terms of whether things are moving on time or moving well or not. And then if they are not, well, course correct quickly and change the direction. If they are, then scale it up further and make it bigger. So really it has to be, in fact, an entrepreneurial spirit, even though you may call yourself an employee working in an organization.
Can I suggest that we've got SMS questions, so we'll take 2 SMS questions and 1 live one from the audience. So the next one is also, Sriram, if you can read out the next SMS question.
We have a question from Vinod Agrawal. The number of women entrepreneurs are very few in India. What is the reason for this and how can we overcome this?
Well, whether you talk of women entrepreneurs or women at the higher levels in the organization, I think the reason for lesser women in those levels is the fact that somewhere when, women, after a few years of their working, somewhere they start believing that it's not possible for them to manage both a career and a family, and that they necessarily have to make a choice of managing one. And that is where they kind of give up. So I think a lot of, the reason for not many women being either entrepreneurs or at the higher levels in the organization is largely due to this inhibition in the minds of the women themselves to say, oh, I've now got married, I've now started a family, and I can't do both, so I have to choose. And that is where the inhibition starts. Well, my message really is to say that we should start with the belief that we can do both. And of course, it's very important to do both. I mean, I'll never say that if you're doing a career, sacrifice your family. I don't think that's required. I don't think that's advisable, and I don't think that should be done at all. In fact, I think it's the privilege for women to have the opportunity to do both, that is look after your family as well as, pursue a career. But you have to start with the self-belief that I think I can do both. And then when you start with the self-belief, half the battle is won. And then, of course, you work your way through. It's not easy. It's actually almost like working equal to 48 hours in a 24-hour time period. So it's not easy. But yes, you first have to start with the belief that I can do it, I want to do it, and then put in that much of hard work. And I think that's the only way there will be more and more women entrepreneurs and women at the higher levels.
Can I have a SMS question?
We have Marina Kapoor asking the following question. In your view, is there a difference between a professional and an entrepreneur? If so, what are the differences? And there is a second part of the question. How important is TIE, i.e. trust, integrity and ethics, in the way ICICI rewards its staff? Thank you.
The first one I've actually partly answered. I said that, even if there are employees in the organization, I think we have to have that entrepreneurial spirit. Well, there is some difference, as I said, when an entrepreneur is starting just on his or her own, you don't have the benefit of the entire ecosystem or infrastructure of a large organization. Whereas people like us who work in a large organization, in a way, have that ecosystem or infrastructure. But beyond that, I think you require that entrepreneurial spirit. And even the organization requires to nurture that entrepreneurial capability for employees to perform. So, when we give responsibilities to our people, when some of us set up new businesses, the organization also placed an equal amount of confidence in us and said, this is the broad direction, now you go out there and implement. We'll give you the freedom to implement. If you do a bad job, you're going to be accountable. If you do a great job, you're going to be rewarded. So the basic entrepreneurial spirit is required whether you are an employee or you are an entrepreneur. On the second one, the trust, integrity and ethics, I think that's a very important and integral factor of how we reward employees. I would not say whether you decide your rewards based on that. I think that's a hygiene factor. So if integrity and ethics is not there, an employee has no place in an organization. The reward or no reward depends really on the performance, but these factors are hygiene factors.
One more SMS question, because as I said, we want to keep using that. Then I've got a person who's been waiting there. I'm going to go to the extremes as much as possible so that everybody feels inclusive.
We have a question from Nitin Deveshwar. What is more important, market share or a strong bottom line? Thank you.
It's a mix of both, because what you have to look at is sustainable growth. So when I use the term sustainable growth, I'm actually covering both. You need to grow. You need to, therefore have an eye on the top line. But at the same time, that growth in top line has to be sustainable, which means there has to be a bottom line. So really, it has to be a mix of both. Now, you may turn around and say it's a very easy answer, but it's not possible always. So yes, always it's not possible to arrive at that ideal mix. But what you do is then you set a longer term or a medium term vision for a sustainable growth. But during that period, you may decide that the first 1 or 2 years you want to just focus on market share because you want to build scale. There may be some reasons why you want to build scale, and then gradually the profits may start coming, or the other way around. So I think over a period, you can break up the period into different phases and say that during some phase, my priority is different. But beyond a point, even in medium term, forget the long term, it has to be sustainable growth, and it has to be a mix of both.
The gentleman there who's been standing, yeah.
Very good afternoon to you. I have a debate kind of the question for you. I mean,
Can you speak into the mic, please?
yeah, I mean, I have a debate kind of a questions for you. I mean, first of all, hands up to the ICICI Bank exactly to bring the technology and the professionalism into private banking sector. But my question is, being the top personality of a private bank, how do you differentiate ICICI Bank with SBI when it comes to entrepreneur? Because when it comes to entrepreneur, I'm specifically talking mid-size or small entrepreneur. It's a harassment to deal with banks. I mean, both either it may be the top nationalized bank or it may be ICICI itself. Even though, like, I would I'm a business analyst by blood exactly, or by profession I'm a CEO of some companies. But I have seen...
Can you ask the question? What is the question?
The question is, how do you differentiate? When it comes to entrepreneur, how you will differentiate the operations and facility to entrepreneur between ICICI Bank and SBI?
Well, I can talk about ICICI Bank vis-a-vis most other competitors in general. I don't want to talk about one specific competitor. But I would say that our entire approach towards the small and medium sector has been to say that we should offer a more comprehensive set of facilities. So it's not just lending. We know that people are looking for money, but it's not just lending. What we did was we really paid a lot of attention in improving the transaction banking services that we can offer to a smaller entrepreneur. The ability to move money from place to place within India, outside of India at, on more easy terms. Then we offered a lot of, or we do offer still, a lot of mentoring and knowledge sharing facilities. So what we do is a whole lot of knowledge series for our SME entrepreneurs. We really create seminars where we bring experts from venture capital, from strategic thinking, and from risk analysis, etc., to help people learn these concepts as they are building their businesses. We do things like the Emerging India Enterprise Award, where we try and recognize these emerging enterprises in their different businesses, so that it creates a kind of an incentive and a environment for people to want to grow businesses. And it's not just that they get an award and they go away, but what we've realized is that once these small enterprises are recognized in these awards, then these enterprises are able to access capital, they are able to access the markets, they are able to access venture capitalists. So I think we have done a lot to not just lend money to the small and medium enterprises, but create an ecosystem which will help them grow faster.
Can I take I'm going to take one SMS question. There's a gentleman here who's been waiting for a while, and then I will take 2 more questions after that, and then I think we've got to close this session. So SMS question, please.
We have a question from Samir Gautam. ICICI Bank is a group with multiple business interests. Each company in the group would have a different business DNA. When we say we are rebuilding the organization, how do we manage to keep the DNA of all the group companies intact? Thank you.
Well, in the group, we have different businesses, but we have the same DNA. So actually, we don't have a different business DNA. And that's been, the real core strength of the group. We keep the same DNA, whether it's the bank or whether it's other group companies. Even within the bank, there are lots of different businesses. So it's important to keep the same DNA. It's just that the businesses are different.
I'm going to ask a slightly tricky question. Excuse me for that. But ICICI Bank is the favorite whipping partner when it comes to a run on the banking system. You're the first one who is targeted. How do you manage to keep your employees motivated, to keep your employees charged? Because finally the finance minister had to come to your rescue and say, this bank is safe. So this would be a very big drag on the employee morale. How do you take care of 36,000 employees when such things keep happening with ICICI Bank?
Well, first of all, I think I'd like to raise kudos to my employees, that it's the employees who take care of the organization rather than organization taking care of the employees. Let me put that in the right perspective. Well, you said that ICICI is always, the favorite, and we faced our challenges once or twice on this. I should first again say that why that happens. That happens because I think we are an organization that's always been doing new things ahead of others. And when you are an innovator and when you do new things ahead of others, in a way there is a lot of skepticism around in the minds of the people till your next innovative step is proven. And therefore, when there are times of uncertainty, as what happened last year where the whole global financial crisis occurred, people were not sure what would happen to a complex organization like ICICI. So I think that's the reason. But during that period, what's important is actually, to keep communicating with all the stakeholders outside to tell them what the actual situation is so that you can really, answer all their questions, queries, doubts, whatever it is. And during that period, let me tell you that it's really our employees who work for the organization. We've had our employees who've kept branches open for 24 hours. I've had branch managers who've called me up at 2 in the night and said, everything is fine, ma'am, don't worry. We have 200 people in our branch, but we are actually serving them tea and coffee. We are actually serving them water. And I think that's the difference in the DNA of ICICI and any other bank. Because I know for a fact that there are some cooperative banks sometime earlier which went through this problem. And what today our customers tell us is that when something like this happened to a cooperative bank, the first person to shut the branch and run away was the branch manager because he could never think of how to take the onslaught of 200 customers. But in your case, the branch manager and the employees were actually telling us, why are you standing in the sun? Why don't you come inside and sit? We'll give you water. So I think it's really the employees, and I'll be very happy if you raise 3 cheers for them.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Nikunj. I have been really amazed by a fact that in India, most of the businesses, maybe small, medium, even large corporations, be it the Tatas or the Reliance or SR, anyone, they've been family owned, family promoted, they have a known promoter group. ICICI has been a fairly aggressive group and a very aggressive executor. So I was wondering, in India, how does the motivation and the aggression come from for a group like you when you don't have an identifiable promoter group? I don't know how many people in this room would be aware who's the promoter of ICICI, and yet it is such an aggressive executor. Where does the motivation come from?
Comes from the entrepreneurial spirit that I spoke about. So once it becomes a DNA of the organization, you really don't have one promoter group. You have, the organization that moves on an entrepreneurial spirit. Of course, it's very important for the leader to keep that entrepreneurship spirit going. It's important for the board to support that entrepreneurial spirit. Sridar is sitting here. He's been on our independent, one of the independent directors on the board. And I must say our board has always been so supportive of the entrepreneurial efforts that we take. Many things that we've done are really very, very bold. To go to a board and say 15 years ago that we are going to have 33% market share in the retail business 3 years from now, when today we have 0% market share and we know nothing about retail business, I think the board could have come back and told us, please don't do any of these things. We think you cannot execute it. But I think they had faith in us, they had faith in the team, and they had the faith in the entrepreneurial spirit of the team and the execution capabilities of the team. So it's really the DNA of the organization that drives, and it's important for the board and the CEO to provide that leadership.
Hi, I'm Kavita and I'm from TiE Mumbai and an ICICI bank account holder for a very long time. I have one question to ask you. You've been speaking about DNA and very proudly about that for so long. How do you identify the entrepreneurial spirit-minded people and nurture them as leaders for the future?
Yes, it's actually, I think our talent management process is quite a involved process through the different stages as the employee grows in the organization. We watch the employee doing different jobs at different levels, and actually our performance assessment at the end of the year comprises two parts. One is just the performance appraisal, which is really to look at how the employee has performed vis-a-vis his or her job during that year. But the other part is talent assessment. What is the talent of the employee and the capability of the employee to do the next level job? And I think we pay an equal importance to that. And on that basis, we really every year look at the talent assessment of employees. We have then a set of employees who form a part of the talent list, who then grow, who then we groom, and those are the ones that emerge as leaders.
Thank you.
I'm going to, because so many people have sent in SMS, I've got an SMS myself telling how many people have sent in their SMS. So to do justice to that process, I would ask the last two questions to come from the SMS group.
We have a question from Vikram Shenoy. What are your thoughts on building and sustaining an innovative work culture while growing at a fast pace? Thank you.
Innovation, in a way, is a part of the process of growing at a fast pace. But I must also say that while all these words look very good, one has to exercise a caution that you don't allow innovation to become an anarchy as well. So you again have to play a very balanced role of how you nurture innovation, how you allow innovation to grow, but at the same time don't create an anarchy. So in a way, I think the best way for innovation to grow is for ideas to actually come bottom up, and then those ideas to get filtered and decisions to be taken top down. So there is a lot of thinking in terms of vision that gets done at the top level to say, we want the organization to be innovative in this form. But the actual small innovations which happen on a day-to-day basis really have to emerge bottom up. So what an organization needs to do is take those big innovative steps, and at the same time, sustainable, small innovative steps. What I mean by small innovative steps is that every time you keep looking at how you're managing your operations and how you can use technology to innovate a little bit and improve productivity, to improve the way in which you manage operations, to come out with a better product. These things have to happen bottom up. But at the top level, you have to say that, if I see that you are saturated at the corporate banking field, you have to take your next big step of getting into retail banking. So it has to be a mix of both, and that's how you keep growing and you keep innovating.
The last question from Japan.
We have a question from Avinash Agarwal. Ma'am, how do you make sure that what is decided at the top level is being implemented at the bottom at a far down location with the same thought and focus and service and quality? Thank you.
That's the job of the leader, I think. As I said, it's important for the leader to share the vision with everyone. And it's once the vision is shared, then actually it's the team that implements. But if you don't spend enough time in sharing the vision, then it's actually very difficult to get it implemented. Even if I were to take the last 1 year's example in ICICI, as I said, the moment the environment changed substantially, we had to change our strategy. Now, it was important for us to spend time with the employees, explaining to them why some of the changes in the strategy. And I spent a lot of time doing that, level after level, discussing with them, sharing with them, making them see the reason and the logic for that. Once you do that, then actually, the implementation gets really done at all levels. And the way you do that is you keep communicating. You keep talking to people. And it's a mix of both. You do organized meetings where you actually, in a formal way, share your vision. But a lot of the sharing of the vision gets done in an informal manner. When I visit branches not to really keep a check on what's happening at the branches. The purpose of visiting branches is really to be able to meet 20 people at absolutely the working level there, to be able to interact with them and share the vision. So you share it very informally. But then those are the 20 people who are going to face, maybe 10,000 customers who are the customers of that branch. And they then get an orientation of how service is important to the customer. So it's a job that really the CEO has to do, and it has to percolate from level to level, but it's a very important task. If you don't do that well, I don't think you can expect that the execution will be done well.
Chanda, I think we could go on. As I said, we were trying this SMS, and I was told that we had 58 questions, which came in through the SMS. So you can imagine that we could have just spent the whole afternoon here answering questions. But thank you very much for sharing your insights. We will definitely, as I said, they are the go-to organization, so I'm sure we have the ability to bring Chanda back, for maybe just a Q&A session for one of the regular TiE Mumbai meetings. So once again, thank you very much, Chanda, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter plus contribution on your behalf to a midday meal program.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.